You've never heard of the Mutapa Empire, but for 400 years it controlled more gold than Europe had ever seen until the Portuguese arrived. Between the Zambezi and Limpopo rivers, in modern Zimbabwe and Mozambique, stood one of Africa's most powerful, yet overlooked, empires. Emerging from Great Zimbabwe in the 15th century, the Mutapa Empire inherited sophisticated gold mining, trade, and governance. Its origins trace to Nyatsimba Mutapa, a legendary figure whose name became synonymous with imperial power. Oral traditions say Mutapa led his people north from Great Zimbabwe around 1420, establishing a new kingdom rich in gold, ivory, and copper. The Mutapa Empire's true marvel wasn't just its wealth, but its sophisticated political structure. This wasn't a kingdom built on brute force, but a carefully organized state balancing central authority with regional autonomy. At its apex stood the Mwen Mutapa, the emperor whose title meant master of the ravaged lands. Beneath this supreme ruler lay a complex hierarchy: provincial governors, local chiefs, and specialized administrators. The empire was divided into provinces, each with an emperor-appointed governor, yet retaining autonomy for local affairs. Northern provinces near the Zambezi controlled vital trade routes to the Indian Ocean. Southern territories managed the gold mines, the empire's economic backbone. Eastern provinces were the gateway for Swahili traders. And later, Portuguese merchants, whose arrival would bring unforeseen consequences. Mutapa's succession system was politically sophisticated, challenging assumptions about pre-colonial African governance. Unlike rigid European primogeniture, the Mutapa system was flexible and democratic. Succession was not automatic. Upon Mwen Mutapa's death, a council of senior chiefs and spirit mediums selected the next ruler from the royal lineage. Selection considered competence, spiritual approval, and political acumen, not just bloodline. The chosen successor demonstrated worthiness through rituals, connecting them to ancestral spirits and the land. This system ensured centuries of stability, producing rulers whose power stemmed from balancing diverse regions, ethnic groups, and economic interests, not divine right. Provincial governors, Fumo, wielded considerable power yet remained accountable to central authority. They collected tribute, maintained local order, and ensured gold and ivory flowed to the capital, with trade goods returning to their territories. The Portuguese arrived in 1531, making contact with the Mutapa Empire, initially seeking trade. These seemingly beneficial ties soon turned destructive. They introduced new technologies like firearms and crops, but their insatiable appetite for gold and desire for political dominance clashed with African protocols of reciprocity. They sought control, not just trade. By the 1570s, Portuguese influence surged. They established trading posts, intermarried, and directly interfered in Mutapa politics. The empire faced a dilemma: the benefits of their goods and weapons versus the growing threat to sovereignty. The turning point came in the early 1600s with Mwen Mutapa Ruzere. Facing internal rebellions and external pressures, he faithfully signed treaties granting the Portuguese extensive mining rights and political influence. What seemed like pragmatic diplomacy was the beginning of the end. Mutapa's decline was gradual, a 2-century loss of power. Portuguese interference in succession disputes weakened traditional selection. European diseases decimated populations. Firearms shifted power balances. By the 18th century, the empire fragmented into smaller kingdoms. The Portuguese gained control of Mutapa's gold mines and trade routes. Political structures crumbled under external pressure and internal division. The 19th century brought the final blow: British colonial forces establishing Rhodesia. Mutapa authority was swept away, erasing centuries of African innovation and achievement. Yet, the Mutapa Empire offers more than a tale of destruction. It revealed sophisticated African political systems, complex pre-colonial trade networks, and the resilience of societies maintaining independence for centuries before external forces. Today, the Mutapa Empire reminds us Africa's past is richer, more complex than colonial narratives suggest. It controlled more gold than Europe had seen, governed through sophisticated structures, and maintained power for 4 centuries until the Portuguese.